Hey guys, this is Dimi with 15 Minute Sales Boosters, a channel dedicated to bringing actionable insights to sales professionals in a bite-sized format. In this video, we're going to piggyback on the previous episode and talk about what a value statement is, why it's an important sales tool and every sales professional should have it handy, and how to build and leverage a value statement to establish a strong foundation early in the sales process to get clients to want to open up to us and share their most critical business challenges. As we discussed in the previous episode on Ideal Customer Profile, the only reason for your clients to buy from you is to solve a problem, which could be increasing operational efficiency, saving or making money, and much, much more. At this point, you might think, well, since I need to find out if customers have challenges that I can solve, I'm going to ask them directly. If they have any issues, piece of cake. While you would be absolutely correct in saying that you would need to ask clients questions to uncover their business needs, unfortunately, it is no piece of cake, and without first understanding and analyzing some of the challenges that often arise when we first engage a potential client, and without the knowledge of how to mitigate them, many of our sales interactions would fall short of achieving such important objectives as pushing deals forward, capturing key information required to close the deal, and building buyer trust and vendor preference. Let's take a look at typical initial discovery call, where the salesperson is correctly looking for customer issues, but failing to address several key inherent buyer-seller communication challenges. Hi John, thank you so much for joining the call today. What brought you to this meeting today? I don't know, you reached out to me and here I am. I was just looking to learn more about you. Okay, great. Are there any issues you're facing with your current marketing process? No, I'd say we're all good. Okay, well, since you mentioned you are here to learn about us, let me give you a quick overview. We're an omnichannel marketing software company ranked #1 by Gartner as the leader in omnichannel marketing automation. Any questions for me at this point? No, all clear. Okay, any challenges that we could help you address as it comes to your marketing strategy? No, not really. I think we're good. Okay, well, how about I share some information with you and check in with you in about a month? Yeah, sure, that sounds good. Does this sound familiar? Did the salesperson push the sale forward, capture key information required to close the deal, and build buyer trust and preference? Clearly, the answer to all of these questions is a big fat no. Let me show you exactly what the salesperson in this interaction failed to take into consideration and how their approach could be different based on these nuances. First of all, we can assume that in this scenario, the salesperson initiated the meeting and the prospect did not come prepared with any specific issues or challenges they were looking to address on the call. This is often the case whenever we as salespeople initiate the meeting, and it leads to several challenges that the salesperson in this scenario has failed to overcome. Challenge number 1 is lack of trust. Similar to this example, a client is often likely to be reluctant or unwilling to open up to a complete stranger about their potential business challenges, especially if they're not the ones initiating the conversation. Put yourself in your client's shoes and think about how you would act around a complete stranger who you never asked to meet with you in the first place. Would you go ahead and tell them everything about you, especially your key issues and challenges? As far as we're concerned, we would typically want other people to think that we're just perfect, even if that couldn't be further from the truth. Our egos will often get in the way. However, oftentimes we will share with people who we trust, and the more we trust them, the more we will be willing to share and put our egos on the line. Challenge number 2 is lack of a reference point. The second challenge the salesperson has faced in this scenario is they did not have a good reference or a jumping off point to talk about their challenges. Even if the client is open to sharing their issues with the salesperson from the get-go, they're usually unsure where to start. Should they talk about increasing marketing spend, shrinking profit margins, or inability to hire marketing talent? All of these are related to their marketing initiatives. While we all know that asking open-ended questions is a good practice, having too many options creates a feeling of paralysis, which makes customers tense up rather than open up. Moreover, if your customer starts sharing challenges and objectives that you're not well equipped to tackle, then you might be wasting your and their valuable time learning about the challenges you can solve and will have to pivot and redirect throughout the conversation, which is harder to do than to correctly set up a direction for an effective conversation from the very beginning. So, how can a salesperson overcome these obstacles to get customers to open up and share critical information needed to progress the sales forward? Let's start off with the first challenge, which is the lack of trust, and discuss how we can get a client to open up to us. In order to do that, we're going to use a very powerful social force called reciprocity and trigger a reciprocity loop. The way you trigger reciprocity loop with your clients is by first giving them something before asking for something back, which is in your case going to be information about them and their business challenges. I'm going to give you a personal real-life example of how reciprocity works. When I was in Europe, I was approached by a woman at a square who without a single word handed me a flower, which I took without a second thought. These types of scams and tricks work especially well with tourists. Next thing I knew, after she gave me a flower, she started already handing me a clipboard to sign off on some sort of petition for God knows what, and to make a donation, obviously. Well, needless to say, I have respectfully declined and tried giving her the flower back, which she smartly refused to accept. What I want you to do now is I want you to put yourselves into my shoes and imagine how you would feel if there was no flower involved and she just approached you with a clipboard and asked you to sign off and make a donation. I'm sure it would be a pretty easy thanks but no thanks on your end. Now, let's bring the flower back into the picture. You have already received the flower and you're now holding it in your hand and you're being asked to make a donation. Now, I want you to imagine saying no to this woman as you're holding that flower in your hand. You will notice that for some reason saying no is a little bit harder, or maybe a lot harder, doesn't it? Why is that? This is because you now feel a certain feeling of obligation to do something for this woman, even though you never asked her to give you the flower. The mere fact of her doing something quote unquote nice for you has triggered in you a feeling of reciprocity. And even though you can see right through this simple two-step approach, the reciprocity loop is still triggered and is having an effect on you, which makes it harder for you to reject her request. The reason why reciprocity works so well is because it is built into us as human beings since the Stone Ages. Humans helping each other in order for the society to survive has formed an unspoken like-for-like norm, where I would be sure to get something back for doing something for another member of the society. Thousands of years later, this program is still so ingrained into our subconscious that it evokes a physical feeling of restlessness if we are breaking the unspoken reciprocity rule. The feelings of reciprocity are built into us on a primal level. Now that we understand how reciprocity works, let's get back to the issue at hand, which is what can we give our clients to trigger the reciprocity loop, as well as how do we do it in a meaningful way rather than a scheming one like in my example. To answer this question, let's look at your customer's motivation for being on the call in the first place. The only reason for your customer to be on the call with you is their belief that they will receive something of value from it, such as, for example, solving a challenge, reaching a business objective. And in order for them to do so, they first need to know what kind of challenges you as a potential partner can solve for them. And this is exactly where the value statement comes into play. It will help communicate to the customer the business challenges you solve, trigger a reciprocity loop, establish you as an industry expert in order to build trust and stir the conversation into the right direction, and it will also help you uniquely position yourselves to solve your customers' needs. A typical value statement consists of 3 parts, and I encourage you to, at this point, arm yourselves with a pen and paper and go through the exercise with me of formulating each of these parts for your business, product, or service. So number 1, we're going to start off with a brief organizational overview outlining which industry your organization plays in and who it serves. This part is typically no longer than 1 to 2 sentences and around 30 seconds long. For example, you might say, DEEM Incorporated is a marketing management company. We work with marketing, sales, and senior management professionals to provide an integrated omnichannel marketing process. That is the extent of how long it should be, as this is not the most critical part of your value statement, but still a necessary one to set the stage. Number 2, key differentiators of your organization, product, or service. In this part, you want to establish your position in the mind of the customer compared to the competition. This is especially important for highly commoditized products and services. For example, you might say something like, we continue to lead the marketing management space because we're very different from other alternatives on the market, because we offer a high level of customization and integration with your existing IT infrastructure, which means you're only paying for what you use and you don't create more organizational silos when you work with us. Number 3, key business challenges you help customers solve. Now, this is the most important part of your value statement and the one you want to spend the most time on, as it will fuel the rest of your sales efforts going forward. It is critical to outline these business challenges you help solve in an emotional language that would be familiar to your customers. You want to evoke feelings of dissatisfaction with their current situation, so consider the following few examples. Marketing and business professionals come to Deem Incorporated when they have had it enough with projects missing deadlines, leading to higher than projected marketing spend. They come to Deem Incorporated when they're tired of low click rates on their new campaigns and lacking key data to make data-driven decisions to stir the marketing efforts in the right direction. Notice that I'm not speaking from a perspective of a vendor, talking about my product or service, which would sound something like this. Marketing and business professionals come to Deem Incorporated when they need to streamline marketing operations, when they are looking for a strategic marketing partner, when they want to future-proof their business in a strategic way. Does any of this sound familiar? The reason why so many salespeople use this type of language is because we're being taught by our organizations about the products and services we sell. And it is only natural for salespeople to regurgitate this product information to the clients because it is what they know best. The problem is, this typically means absolutely nothing to the client and doesn't evoke an emotional response to them because that's not how they think. They think in terms of their challenges and their issues they wake up with and they go to bed with. Unless you encounter a client who's already working on a project and has identified streamlining marketing process as a key priority, this is not going to mean much. Your client will be left wondering, well, what does that exactly mean? What does streamline mean? Such a format is too broad and vague, and it doesn't hit home for a busy marketing professional who's pulling their hair out trying to figure out why the damn click rates are so low. On the flip side, imagine you tell him or her that marketing professionals come to you when they are tired of low click rates and their new campaigns are lacking key data to make data-driven decisions on the ways to rectify the situation. Now you've got his or her attention, and not only that you've evoked those emotions of frustration that will fuel the desire to do something about it and go through the change that is rather uncomfortable but necessary because of the pain being greater than their current situation, you have also established yourself as an expert. So here's an example of how a value statement might sound like put together. Deem Incorporated is a marketing management company. We work with marketing, sales, and senior management professionals to provide an integrated omni-channel process. We continue to lead the marketing management space because we're very different from other available alternatives in the market, because we offer a high level of customization and integration with your existing IT infrastructure, which means you're only paying for what you use and don't create more organizational silos when working with us. Marketing and business professionals come to Deem Incorporated when they have had enough with projects missing deadlines leading to higher than projected marketing spend, as well as when they're tired of low click rates on their new campaigns and lacking key data to make data-driven decisions on the way to rectify the situation. Notice how this establishes you as an industry expert and someone who's familiar with the challenges that their peers are facing. Even if you're new to a product or organization, if you put a little bit of effort into researching and documenting your ideal customer profile, as discussed in the previous episode, with a little bit of practice, you will instantly sound like an industry veteran. Now that we've talked about the reasons why a value statement is such a powerful sales tool and how to put one together, in the next episode, we're going to touch on when to leverage and how to leverage a value statement. Now, before I end this episode, let's do a quick recap of the key elements discussed in this video. So there are two types of challenges that salespeople run into during their initial discovery meetings with prospects. And they are, number one, lack of trust, and number two, lack of reference or a jumping off point. In order to overcome these challenges, salespeople need to first present value in order to trigger a reciprocity loop before they ask questions. To accomplish that, top sales professionals first develop and then use a value statement, which consists of three parts. Number one, brief organizational overview outlining which industry your organization plays in and who it serves. Number two, key differentiators of your organization, product, or service. Number three, key business challenges you help customers solve. If you'd like to continue receiving the short actionable tips and insights into ways to improve your sales game, don't forget to subscribe, hit the notification button, and consider leaving a comment or asking a question. See you in the next episode.